Now, also at the center of this case, of course, are documents, including invoices and check stubs that the jury will consider as part of their deliberations. NBC's Katie Fang is at the big board for us. Welcome to the big board.
Thank you. It's my debut.
Maiden voyage. Okay,
Thank you.
remind us what the jury is going to be looking at.
Yeah, so it's a great question because this is important for everybody to consider. Not only are we looking at this, but the jury gets to look at this in the deliberations. And so what's really kind of key is this was actually a document that was prepared by the Manhattan DA's office that was entered into evidence. So it's an exhibit. It's a summary exhibit that we see here. But what's really important is for us to look at this. For example, there's the check. And excuse me, the check in this case, the one that was for $70,000, is right here. So what, Chris, we're going to be looking at and what the jurors are going to be considering is the fact that you had Michael Cohen as the payee of these checks, but also you also had signatures that were coming from somebody like Donald Trump. Now, this one was from the actual revocable trust, so we didn't have that. But this exhibit is how it lays out all the different invoices. You have 11 of them. So that's your 11 invoices, your 12 vouchers, and your 11 checks. And Chris, these are your multiple felony counts that we have. Now, also what we're considering is this. You have a jury, and this jury is made up of 12 people, 7 men and 5 women. And this jury actually has been sitting in deliberations now for more than 2 hours. And one of the things that we also looked at when we were looking at the jury instructions, or excuse me, the jury questionnaire, was where do these jurors get their information? And part of that gave people some concern, and I know it did, was the fact that there was a juror here who said that they got some of their information from Truth Social. However, when you look at some of the other information sources for these jurors, it does include things like CNBC, we've got MSNBC. I mean, so these are not necessarily any type of indicia of where these jurors are going to go. But I think it's really important to realize that we already have a 4-person, that's juror number 1, and that 4-person is the person who's going to be presiding over the deliberations. But that 4-person doesn't necessarily have outsized weight. There are 2 people that we're looking at on this jury that we have a little bit of interest in. That'd be juror number 3 and juror number 5. Juror number 3 is a corporate lawyer, and we do know that this juror has indicated that they practice corporate law, and juror 7 does civil litigation. So if there's any type of interest or concern about these jury instructions, the other jurors may look to those lawyers for some guidance, Chris.
Katie Fang, thank you so much.
Valuetainment founder Patrick Bet-David joins us now. The old switcheroo. Are you feeling that theory?
You know, first of all, a happy Memorial Day to all the servicemen around the country. But I'm going to tell you this. Listen, in business and in life, it comes down to 4 things. Whoever outworks, out-improves, out-strategizes, and outlasts wins. Let's take a look at this between Biden and Trump. Trump outworking. He gets 1 day a week to campaign, Wednesdays. His opponent has 7 days, right? 1 on 7. That's like a quarterback that gets 70 attempts, Joe Biden. A quarterback only gets 10 attempts. The guy with throwing 10 attempts gets 10 touchdowns. The other guy cannot get a single touchdown. So he got outworked. He's out-improving because if you notice 2020, President Trump seemed a little bit upset. His campaign was, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. 2024, it's optimism, unification, greatest country in the world. We're going to make a comeback. Messaging has improved, uplifting. You want to be around the guy. He seems optimistic, even though they're doing all the stuff to him. Outwork, out-improve, out-strategize. This guy's got the audacity to go to New York in AOC's county, campaign and shake hands with people, 5, 10, 15, 25,000 people show up. You're willing to tell me you have the audacity to come to my city, New York, even though the campaign manager for Biden today that showed up, I don't know if you saw him or not, very famous campaign manager, Vito Corleone, showed up today, and he had to analyze this to see if he can kind of change it up, a.k.a. Robert De Niro. And last but not least, outlast, it's his biggest strength. Good luck outlasting him when it comes to campaigning. There's no way President Biden can do that.
You're right. He's out hustling them in all 4 of those factors. But Joe's got the establishment. He's got the CIA telling the prosecutors to back off his son's sugar brother. He's got Alvin Bragg doing his dirty work. He's got Jack Smith. He's got Letitia James and Fannie and the crew down in Atlanta. And he's got the media who Joe can't do anything wrong. He can lie and they say it's fine. He can fall asleep at a Memorial Day event and they say, oh, no, that's fake news. Is that going to be enough to help him go across the finish line again?
I think he's going to need manipulation and gamesmanship and trying to find a different way to win, because when you look at the polls right now, couple embarrassing polls for Biden. New York in 2020, you win by 23 points, 61 to 38. Right now, New York, he's only got a 9-point lead. This is Siena poll, by the way. You look at blacks voting in 2020. They won 22%, 9% is what Trump got with the black votes. 91% pretty much went to the other side. Trump's got 22% now and climbing. He's winning the business owners. He's winning the workers. He's winning the black vote. He's winning the young vote. He's winning the people in the middle libertarian vote. You go to their convention, it starts off booing. You don't give up, and it ends with cheering. I mean, this is how you go into these types of moments to be able to win. He's doing it. The only thing I always say, stay paranoid. You want him to run. You want Biden to be the candidate. You don't want him to bring anybody else. But only the paranoid survive. They're not going to lose this easily.
Only the paranoid survive. I haven't heard that one, but that's a good one. I'll have to write that down. And remember, Biden's only up 9 in New York. And guess who just qualified to get on the ballot? RFK Jr. here in New York. It's going to play a major factor. Pat Bet-David, thanks as always. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
Now, a satellite that aims to study clouds to make more accurate weather forecasts and reliable climate predictions has blasted into orbit.
3, 2,
This is SpaceX Falcon 9 carrying the EarthCare satellite. Its mission is to collect information on clouds along with dust and smoke, which play a role in their formation. Experts say the data could be used to help mitigate the threats posed by global warming. Well, let's talk more to our science correspondent, Jonathan Amos, who joins us live. Jonathan, how do you measure what's in a cloud?
Well, you have a couple of very fancy instruments, Nikki. You have a Doppler radar, and you also have a LiDAR, a laser, a space laser. And this EarthCare mission is a joint venture between the European and Japanese space agencies. Will circle the Earth, and it will pulse the radar and the LiDAR, the laser, down through the atmosphere. And the laser will see the tops of clouds. It'll see the small particles, the droplets in the atmosphere. You mentioned them: dust, smoke, soot, Saharan dust. These little particles can nucleate clouds. They can make clouds form. And that radar will look inside clouds. It'll see how much water they're carrying. It'll see how they evolve over time. And it'll also be able to see whether they precipitate out, you know, the rain, the hail, the snow, all of that kind of stuff. And what scientists want to do is get a picture of how clouds work. Because they've got great ideas now, but they don't have really precise ways of understanding how clouds work. And that's important because they need to feed that information into the weather forecasts that we all use every day, but longer term as well, the climate forecasts. You know, there are some suggestions that as the planet warms, we'll get less cloud cover. And if that happens, more of the sun's radiation will be absorbed at the surface, and that will amplify the warming that we get from carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. So it's going to be very interesting to see what data that the EarthCare mission can return.
This mission has been quite a long time in the planning, hasn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah, it has. The first sort of concept proposal was put forward in 1993 by a Reading University scientist called Anthony Illingworth. And he battled away to get his ideas accepted. Little while later, in the late 90s, he started to sort of push a satellite mission, and eventually the European Space Agency accepted it way back in 2004. That's 20 years ago. And that satellite has just been launched 2 decades later. It just shows the difficulty, the challenges, the technical challenges of doing some of this kind of work. I mean, they've had to overcome enormous technical obstacles. I was just talking about the LiDAR, the laser. They had to try and find a way to make the laser work in the vacuum of space. If you're going to operate in space, your tools need to work in a vacuum, right? And that took them several years to work out how to do that. The Japanese who produced the radar, they also had technical difficulties. And taken together, that's bumped the price up. We're talking about something like 850 million euros across the lifetime of the mission, it has to be said. But these things, they don't come cheap and they don't come quick. But the data they can return certainly can be profound.
John, thank you very much. And John's written a fascinating article that you can read on the BBC News website.
Tonight, Texas in the bullseye again, with flash floods stunning drivers in Dallas and lightning potentially setting a suburban church and multiple homes on fire, say authorities. Heavy rain and winds flipping semis, mangling metal buildings, and authorities say killing one person. Hail piercing the roof of this Walmart. And at DFW, incredible video of nearly 80-mile-per-hour gusts appearing to push a plane from its gate. American Airlines saying there were no injuries, and its maintenance team is conducting thorough inspections. Hundreds of flights canceled. Today, more than 1 million Texas customers without power. All of it capping a harrowing holiday weekend with more than 60 tornadoes reported across 14 states, including Kentucky, where Clara Rice's worst nightmare repeated itself.
This is not the first tornado that you've been through.
No, ma'am. The mother and grandmother became famous back in 2021 when a tornado destroyed her home and sent her bathtub flying, her 2 baby grandsons inside, clutching her Bible.
I had no clue at all where these babies was.
We need help. We got somebody under this debris.
Miraculously, the boys were found alive and Rice rebuilt.
My mama made that.
Sunday, her home was obliterated again. Authorities say Memorial Day weekend storms killed 5 people in Kentucky, close to 24 nationwide. With more than 1,000 tornadoes reported, 2024 is now the second busiest start to a year ever recorded. Rice's family, this time, taking cover in a neighbor's storm shelter.
Will you rebuild here again?
Yes, ma'am.
You will?
Yes, ma'am. If you can afford a tornado shelter anyway at all, get you one. Get in it and use it. Just use it. God's put it there.
It's a pretty incredible story. Maggie Vespa joining us now live in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. Maggie, we're learning more about the power of the tornadoes that tore through there.
Yeah, Lester, we're now talking about 4 confirmed tornadoes. And the National Weather Service says the one that